talk to you guys briefly about a follow-up system that I use when making calls, because for the most part, 99% of the deals and the listings I got didn't happen on the first call. It happened due to consistent follow-up. And so I'm always telling people, if you're not going to do the follow-up, you probably shouldn't make the calls. And so we have to find a way to make the follow-up simple and easy so that we can be committed to it. So I learned this process. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did you hear that now they suing about calls also?
They're suing about calls. What do you mean, like
They're
cold
suing
calling?
Rocket Mortgage. They're getting sued because people said that they bother them too much with telemarketing.
Yeah, that's not what we do, though. And
Okay.
so what we have to understand is that we do provide a value. We have to find a way to articulate that when we call. We're not calling people trying to get them to extend their car warranty and get them to pay for something they don't need. We're calling people who actually have a need and a desire to get their home. So what we have to do is show their value. So I'm not worrying about things that I can't control, like a lawsuit over calls. I'm not worried about this commission lawsuit. I can't control any of that. All I can control is how I go after my business, how I show my value. And so I only focus on the things that I can control. And the one thing that I can control and that you can control is your follow-up. Your follow-up game has to be strong, especially in this market. It's not about the first time you call or even the fifth time you call. The 8th time, the 12th time, the 50th time. Like, if you really want the business, if you want the opportunity, you need to call them. And I learned this years ago, probably 12 years ago, from Gary Keller, the owner of Keller Williams. There's a video on YouTube called Gary and the Box. And he talks about how he used index cards and a index card box to take care of all of his follow-up calls. I don't like writing on small pieces of paper. So what I did is I went to Staples and I got this accordion folder. They're like $20, and it's labeled 1 through 31. What I would do, and this is what I recommend all of you guys do too, as an example, if I'm calling for sell by owners today, I always have a stack of 20 to 25 for sell by owner scripts and 20 to 25 expired script. So I'm always following a script. Even though I know my script, I always have it in front of me. If I get a for sale by owner to answer the phone and they're answering my questions, I start off by writing their answers down on the script. And so now that script becomes my lead sheet. I have all their answers to the questions. I write their name, address, phone number, email address on the top of that page. And as an example, today is the 17th, right? We should do follow-up on for sale by owners every Monday. So what I would do for any for sale by owner I talk to today, I would find the slot here for the 20th. And I would put that script in, that lead sheet in on the 20th. And that way on Monday, when I came into the office, this is always sitting on my desk. So on Monday, when I come in, I reach in on the 20th, grab all those leads out, and I know the people that I need to call. And if I talk to them on the 20th and they're like, hey, David, call me in 3 days, I'm going to take that lead sheet and put it down on the 23rd. And on the 23rd, those are the people I'm calling. It's a simple way. Yes, we have CRMs. Yes, we have all these fancy databases, but the best follow-up system is the one that you will actually use. I promise you, with this being in your face, you know what you need to be doing every day. You know who you need to call every day, and you will call them. And the only people I put in here are people I've actually talked to and had a conversation with, people I've gone through the script with. If I haven't gotten them on the phone yet, they don't go in here. These are for people that I know are interested in selling, that I plan to follow up with. And this is the systematic approach that never failed me. I got so many listings because this was always top of mind. Follow-up needs to be top of mind if you're going to be successful in real estate, if you're going to be successful with prospecting, especially with expireds and for sale by owners. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and get us started. A lot of cameras off. I just want you guys to know I'll still call on you if your camera's off. So don't try to hide from me. I see what you guys are doing. What's up, David? What's going on? Hey, Bomika, Betty, Al, Colleen, Mr. King, Marlo, Ariane, Jacqueline, Amelia, Sean Brown, Tim. Good to see you. I missed you the other night at Real Talk. And Keith Duffy is here. So here's what I wanted to say. This is not just my call. This is everyone's call on here. We have some people that are making calls. They're really good at lead gen. They're really good at prospecting and objection handling, like Fatima and Bomika and Keith. right? And Betty, I want you guys to feel empowered. If you hear someone saying something that's not right, or you have a better way to handle it, jump in. Like, this is a community where we help each other grow. I don't have all the answers. I don't have every objection handler. We're supposed to be helping each other grow together. So feel empowered. If you have something to say, or a question, or some advice that you can give someone, unmute and let's jump in and let's just make this a good call. So here's a couple of things you guys filled out when you register for the call. Here's one objection. They're hearing from buyers that they want to wait until the rates drop. So they're pausing the search on their home until the rates drop. That's the objection you're getting. Who knows how to handle that? How would you handle that? Hey, we're going to hold off on our search until the rates drop. Someone give me a way to overcome that. And I want it to be quick. I don't want us to go into motivation. I just want your objection handler really quick. Ariane, you got something for me?
I can certainly appreciate that, David. Back in the 80s when, interest rates were about the same as they are now, more or less. People had to wait about 20 years for the rates to come down. Are you willing to wait that long for the rates to come down?
No, we need to buy it within the next year.
Okay, so, why don't we do the right thing? Get yourself, pre-approved. And if you can make that monthly payment, then I would say go ahead and buy the house now. And when the rates do come down, because I'm not a fortune teller, I don't know about you. Are you?
Nope.
All right. So when the rates do come down, you can absolutely refinance that and get a better rate.
All right. Thank you, Ariane. Someone else give me another way to handle that. We're going to put off our search. We're going to wait until interest rates drop before we start searching for a home again. Give it to me. Go ahead, Bamika. I see you. Go.
I can try.
Right.
So I understand that, David. What would happen if the interest rates increase again? How's that going to affect you?
If they increase again, I mean, then we really have to wait. I just don't feel comfortable, paying the higher interest rate.
You know what, David? We don't control the market. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we know what we can get done right now for you. I have a great network of lenders you can speak with, and every lender comes with a different set of program. And, when you feel comfortable and confident, we can go ahead and we can start looking at things. But when the rates come down, you can go ahead and always refinance your house. But if they go up again, we don't know, when they will come down. So how about I put you across with a few lenders and, you can discuss how we can proceed on this.
Okay. That's one way to handle it. And stop saying I'm going to try. There's no try in here, Bamika. You just go for it. It's not always going to be perfect, but you're putting yourself out there and you're working to overcome the objection. Ashley, you give it a try. And then Keith, I'm waiting for you to do a few more push-ups to you out of breath, and I'm going to come to you so you can cover one out of breath. So Ashley, you're up, and then Keith.
Okay. David, I understand I have a lot of buyers that feel the same. Let me ask you this. Do you remember what happened when rates went down in 2020 and 2021?
I mean, the market just got crazy.
Right. So we expect that something similar will happen. There's a lot of buyers that are waiting for the same, situation for rates to go down. And if they do, there'll be a flood of buyers. And with that, home prices will go up again. If we find a home you like now, even though the payment may be, top of your budget, but you can afford it, when rates come down, you're not worried about a higher price point. You already have your current rate and you can just lower it.
Ashley, love it. That's what I was thinking to say. And I think that's a very solid argument. That's it right there, right? You wait for rates to come down, prices are going to go up. So buy now when there's less competition, refinance when they come down. Love it. Love it. Al, you have something you want to jump in and say about that one?
Yeah, I would also say, well, if you're willing to wait, why don't we go ahead and see about a new construction deal? Their rates are typically lower than your conventional loan. Like I know right now here in Tampa, there's new construction companies that are offering like 5%, 4.5%.
If you're in the market where you have that type of opportunity, that's definitely a good way. Have them look at a property like a new build. All right, Al, thank you for that. Keith, if you're ready, man, I'm coming to you. Listen, man, it's November. We're about to get ready for Thanksgiving and the Christmas holiday. We're just going to hold off and wait until the spring to get our house on the market. So why don't you give me a call back maybe in March or April?
David, I fully respect and could appreciate everything that you just said to me. I've heard this response back probably at least 10 times over the past 2 weeks. Because interest rates are where they're at right now. Buyers not only do they not want to make a high mortgage payment like that, some of them can't afford it, right? But let me ask you a question. Would you rather be up, whether it's now or 3 months from now, 5 months from now, or even a year from now? When interest rates come down, all those people that are on the sidelines are going to come off the sidelines. So if you're up against 10 other offers now, a couple of months, couple of years, you're probably going to be up against 20 something. Now you could always renegotiate. You could always renegotiate the interest rate, right? But you can never renegotiate the final sales price. Once the final sales price is 900K, it's 900K. But if your interest rate right now is 8, maybe 7.75, I'm pretty confident that at some point in the next 12, 18, maybe 24 months, you could renegotiate that interest rate down. What would you rather do? Would you rather be in the game up against 10 offers or in the game up against 100 offers?
That makes a lot of sense.
I would rather have an opportunity. Honestly, Ashley said everything that I was about to say, so I'm just trying to say it in a different way right now.
All good, all good. You might have cut out on me because I actually gave you another objection to handle, but I like that you handle the interest rates one too. So it's all. I know you're at the gym, so you probably cut out. You're all good though. You said it right though, and we just need to hear other people say it because listen, Ashley said it one way. You may have said the same, type of situation, but you say it differently, and we need to hear different people say the same script. That's how we build up our repertoire, and we find different ways to handle the same objection that we're getting from our sellers. So I think it's okay that you repeated that one. Someone throw your hand up. I'm going to go to Colleen with this one. Colleen, listen, we're going to wait until the spring to put our house on the market. We got the holidays coming up. We just want to enjoy and then get ready in the spring.
I totally understand that, David, but here's the issue with waiting to the spring. I keep hearing that everyone is going to wait until the spring. So if you wait until the spring, you're going to have more inventory on the market. So that means more competition for you. So what would you rather do? List now, and then you have this more serious buyers, or would you rather list in the spring and have more competition? And then you might also have people that are just coming out to look and think about it. So typically when people list in the holidays, the people who are actually purchasing the houses are the ones that are serious about buying. So something to think about.
You know what? And let me say this, Colleen, everything you said was absolutely correct. Can I coach you around what you said really quickly?
You got it. Absolutely.
So for those of you who know me, you're probably thinking, she's telling me, and it's good information, but because you're telling it to me, I'm looking at it like it's your opinion. What I want all of us on this call to do is get me to come to that conclusion by asking questions. So Colleen, I'm going to be the agent, you be the seller, and let's role play this again. And I'm going to say, Colleen, I completely understand you thinking about holding off until the spring. I get that. Are you aware that the spring market is one of the busiest markets, and that's when a lot of property hits the market?
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. And let me ask you, when you just think about standard supply and demand, if you have a lot of inventory hitting the market at the same time, what does that tend to do to price?
Oh, it definitely is going to drive it up.
If you have a lot of inventory?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it. Sorry. I was thinking. Go ahead.
If you have a lot of inventory, it drives the price down, right? With supply and demand.
Sure.
So, when you're telling me that, I agree with you, Colleen, it will drive the price down. So my question is, do you want to sell your house when there's more competition that's going to drive the price down, or do you want to sell it during this time where you have less competition?
Well, you make a great point. Less competition.
Yeah. And listen, I just want you to know I hear you about the holidays. And if you knew there was a way we could get your house on the market and get it sold, and you didn't have to have people in and out of your house during the holidays, I'm sure you'd be open to hearing more about that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Great.
So I see what you did. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yep.
you said it versus me telling you. And that's, we have to ask questions to
Yes.
get the seller to come
Yes.
to the same conclusion, because when I say it, it's fact. When you say it, it's just your opinion.
Correct.
Yep. But good
Okay,
job. You
thank
said
you.
you said all the right things.
Thank
All
you.
right. Let me throw this out here. Who I'm going to throw this out to? Mr. Tim Ho, if you can unmute, I'm gonna throw this one out to you, buddy. Hey, listen, great meeting you. Liked everything you said. We did meet with a couple of agents. We have someone else that would do it for 5%. Will you match that and do it for 5% if we sign with you today?
Well, as you said, you know, commission is negotiable. The best I can do is 5.5%. Sure. Not sure how to deal with this. I'm not sure if you know how the commission works. Do you know how the commission work, Mr. David?
I mean, not necessarily. No, I mean, I know I pay you a commission and you share it with the other agent, right?
Okay. So here's how the commission works if you never heard about it. So 3% typically is going to go to the seller's agent, which is me, and then 1% of that you're going to pay taxes by basically the government, Uncle Sam. 1% is going to be go to the brokerage. So that's only 1% going to the agents like myself, including all of the marketing stuff like that I'm going to do for you. So imagine somebody lowering their fees down to 5%. How much marketing do you think you would have? So
okay, bring up a good point.
So does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So a couple of things I'm gonna say to you, man. First thing, when someone asks you to lower the commission, your first response should be no. Any other questions? Because sometimes they're asking just to ask, and now you're negotiating with yourself. You just took away 0.5% of commission, and maybe I would have said okay if you told me no. So start off by saying no. And I love how you were talking about commission. Guys, I'm going to recommend that when you go on listing appointments, you always bring $6 bills with you, because when people don't know how commission works, explaining it with the visual carries a lot more weight. And Tim did a good job talking about it, but when you have the visual, it makes a lot more sense. So, you know, I would say something like, Tim, do you know how commission works? Let me explain it to you. You're paying me 6%, automatically 3% I'm paying out to the buyer agent. We want that cooperation so they bring their buyers to our house. I have to pay Uncle Sam. I have to pay my brokerage. I'm left with 1%. Out of that 1%, half of that is the marketing costs to get your property sold. And the other half is how I feed my family. So when you ask me to cut the commission, where can I cut? And more importantly, where is the other agent cutting? Do you think they're cutting, you know, on what they bring home and how they feed their family, or they may be cutting back on marketing costs? We have to explain how commission works, because a lot of people don't know. Does that make sense? All right, perfect. I want to throw this to I got one of my VPs in here, Mr. Pete Kopech. I want to throw the commission to Pete and see how he handles it. Pete, listen, would you lower your commission? I have another agent that I met with yesterday that can do it for 5%. I like you though, and I'd like to work with you if you match the 5%.
5%. Well, first of all, I appreciate that. I like you as well. I could definitely see us working well together. And, you know, I would just say, listen, I mean, it's great that they know what they're worth, but I know what I'm worth, and I know what your house is worth, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to get you every single penny out of this house. So let's do the right thing, and let's just get it signed and get rocking and rolling.
Yeah, but man, Pete, the 1%, as I told you before, we're upgrading and we're getting into a bigger house. So when you talk about, you know, me saving 1%, I mean, that's $8,000. That's a lot of money. So, I mean, if you can work with us in any way on your commission, I really would like to work with you, but we need all the money we can.
Right. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's interesting you say save 1%. It's actually funny you say that. Let me ask you though, David, before we really go into it, what's more important, how much you pay in commission or how much you net from the sale?
I mean, both really, but how much I net? I need the money for the next house.
Right, exactly. So if we, so let's just take a minute and say it this way. Let me just ask you, David, are you familiar with how real estate commissions work and how agents get paid in the real estate world?
Think so. I'm not sure. I think so.
Yeah, well, let's just assume that, this, let me just take a minute. We'll walk through it, right? So we know that when we list a home, right, we pay out a commission. So of that commission, we know that a portion of it is already going out to the buyer's agent, right? And we want to pay out a commission that is going to attract top quality agents, right? And we know that top quality agents expect, a certain amount to be compensated for their time, right? So we want to make sure that we're paying out a good amount to the buyer's agent to bring buyers. Actually, did you know that 98% of sales that happened last year, a buyer's agent was the one who brought the buyer?
I was not aware of that. No.
Yeah. So you see how, enticing good quality buyer's agents could be beneficial to your bottom line, right?
I see it now. Yes.
Right. So we already know almost half of that commission gets paid out to the buyer's agent, right? So and just so you know, so real estate agents, like, we are independent contractors, right? So we don't get paid a salary, we don't get paid hourly, we don't really have any kind of marketing budget. We pretty much get paid based on what we sell. So if we were looking, we already paid out a portion, right? We know that we're going to the other side. We pay our own taxes, we pay our own retirement funds, we pay our own health care. We pay, our own living expenses, of course. And listen, I'm not complaining. I love what I do, and I'm very happy with where I am. But if we were to take this down, so we know that we have to pay out of our end of the commission, we pay. I don't have a dollar on me, otherwise I'd be ripping this thing in half. But we know that, so we know a portion goes out to the buyer's agent, right? We know a portion goes to Uncle Sam. We can't do anything about that. We know a portion actually goes back to our brokerage, right? Keller Williams. So that's a part of that. And then we have the budget to market your home with. And then we have what is our really non-negotiable, right? These are the taxes, our retirement fund, our things that we need to feed our family, right? So if we know all these things are non-negotiable, where do you think that 1% is coming out of?
That's actually
the marketing budget, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, listen, David, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's one thing that we can add or remove that's going to make a difference, because the reality is the name of the game is exposure. And we know every little thing that we do that gets your home in front of more people is going to result in you getting not only the best dollar amount, but the best terms, right? Because we could get an amazing offer for a dollar amount, but if it doesn't get to the closing table, it doesn't matter. Would we agree with that?
I agree.
So do you see how actually cutting commission could actually affect your bottom line?
I didn't see it before, but I hear where you're coming from.
So with that kind of in mind, do you think it would still make sense to cut commission and list for a lower price, or are we good with where we're very comfortable listing?
What if you have the buyer, Pete? Like, what if, you represent both sides? Would you give me a break then?
I mean, listen, everything's negotiable. If we brought the buyer, yeah, we could probably knock off 0.5%, but it still isn't going to, we still really can't guarantee that. So we could probably work with you on that.
Okay. All right. Sign me up.
All right, let's do it.
So, Pete, what I love about you, you really explained it and got into some detail with me. But the biggest thing I like, besides what you said, is how you said it, the confidence. Like, that's half the battle right there, is when you're having these conversations, having the confidence to say it and deliver it with conviction. And that's why I think doing the script practice is so important. I always talk about that Michael Jordan video where he's like, man, I can hit any shot in the game because I practice it every practice, right? This is why it's so important that we're here for script practice. So we don't have that deer in the headlight look when we get hit with that commission objection. We know exactly what to say. We know what questions to ask, and we know how to make our point so that they see the value in paying our commission. So I love that, Pete. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and so just to chime in, one of my favorite quotes right now is similar to how you say we bleed in practice, or we sweat in practice so we don't bleed in war.
Yep.
Is amateurs practice so that they don't get it wrong. Pros practice so much that they can't or amateurs practice so much. Timeout. I don't have this script down. Clearly, I need this right in front of me. Amateurs practice so that they get it right. Yep. Professionals practice so much that they can't get it wrong.
And that's exactly it, right? You want to be able to deliver it. And Pete, that's the reason why. Let me ask you a question. I just want to raise a hand. How many of you guys have actually taken my advice and you record yourself when you're making calls, when you're at a visible preview or at a listing presentation, you record yourself and you go back and you review the tape? You do it systematically almost every time. I see one hand up, two hands up. Okay. This little digital recorder, and hell, now on our cell phones, we got memo recorders here. If you guys really want to level up, record when you're out there and see if you're not getting the listing, if you're not getting the appointment. Why is that? Is it because you're talking too much? Is it because you're not asking enough questions? Is it because you're going off script? Right? You need to level up. You hear football coaches all the time. I hear Coach Prime saying that all the time. Yeah, we lost. We got to go review the tape, figure out what we did wrong, and get back out there. You guys need to understand why you're making the mistakes you're making. And I'll tell you this, I had the biggest lesson where I went after an expired in Ridgewood. They love me. I booked the appointment. I went out there. I had a great conversation with them, and I couldn't get them to list with me. I couldn't get them to sign the paperwork. And I was really frustrated because a couple of days later, they didn't call me back. They listed with someone else. So when I sat down with my coach, we pulled up the recording and we listened to it. And as I'm listening to it with him, my coach was like, right there, did you hear that? And I'm like, hear what? He said, rewind it. And I rewound the tape and I listened to it again. And essentially, the seller was telling me exactly why they didn't want to relist with an agent. They told me what happened the first time around. And I was so caught up in my head trying to convince them to list with me that I missed them telling me exactly what I needed to say to get their listing. Essentially, they wanted an agent who was going to be present for the showings because it was a seller that had video cameras up in their house, and their previous agent didn't sell the house when people came through. He just pretty much said, go take a look. I'll be here in the kitchen. And although I know that's not going to sell the house, that was important to them. They wanted someone that was going to see the value in their home, sell it to anybody who walked through. And I didn't even hear that because I could have told them, I will be here for every showing personally, and I will walk everyone around and make sure they understand the value of your home and why it's priced the way it's priced. If I had just said that, I could have gotten a listing, and we're talking almost $1 million listing. And I didn't get it because I hadn't practiced my scripts well enough. And all I was thinking is, what can I say to get them to list with me? Where they were telling me, and I just didn't hear it because I wasn't well scripted and things weren't internalized. So it's so important that we go back and figure out why we're not converting the way we should be converting. And that's just done by reviewing the tape. All right, last one on commission. I want to hear something completely different than what we've already heard. Who wants to volunteer and handle the commission objection? But I need to hear something completely new that we haven't heard before. You guys do want to go get some listings, don't you? You do want to go make some money, don't you? All right, Ashley. Come on, y'all. We sweat and practice so we don't bleed in war. This is where you raise your hand and you make all the mistakes so that we can correct you. Don't be gun shy. Don't sit on the sidelines, because if you're sitting on the sidelines here, that's how you're participating every day. That means you're probably not making your calls if you're not willing to raise your hand here. Ashley, give me something different. I have an agent. They said they would do it for 5%. I like you. If you'll do it for 5%, I'll list with you today.
I will do it for 6%. Is there anything else outside of commission that's stopping you from listing with me?
I mean, that's only it. Ashley, I'm not paying 6%. Like I said, I have somebody else that said they do it for 5%. And that's what I'm looking for, is to save some money. So if you'll do it for 5%, I'll give it to you.
Okay. I'm still set on my 6%. Now let me ask you something. Did that other agent fight for that to lower, or did they immediately say 5%?
I mean, they started off where you started off, but through some negotiations, they were willing to accept 5%, and they felt that they could get the property sold, and they were happy to take the 5%.
Okay. Now, so you want someone that's going to negotiate for one of your biggest assets and get you top dollar, correct?
Well, of course. I mean, that's why I'm hiring a salesperson. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
All right. So would you want to hire someone that you can out negotiate?
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Okay. So the reason why I charge 6% is because I know I will get the job done for you, and I will negotiate to get you the top dollar and get you where you need to be.
All right, I'll give it to you. That's what I was looking for, to be honest with you. I wanted someone to say exactly what you said. They're looking to hire us. They're looking for a salesperson, a top negotiator, Ashley, that can get them top dollar. If I can't defend my own commission and protect the way I get paid, what's going to happen when it's time for me to protect the equity in your home? If I can't fight for me, can I fight for you? I've already showed you what type of negotiator I am. Do you want to hire somebody you can out negotiate? Great question, Ashley. And what I will tell you is say that, but this time be quiet. Do you really want to hire somebody that you can out negotiate? And be quiet and let that sit there for a minute.
Okay.
Because that's powerful when people think about it. All right, good job. All right, so listen, I want to start my house price. I know you're telling me it's worth half $500,000. I want to get started at 550. I'll list the house with you today if you'll take it at 550. Who's taking that one? I'm gonna give that one to Raj. I'll say it again. I know Raj probably wasn't paying attention. Raj, you over there? What you doing, man? You doing some TikToks on me? Raj, man, I'll give it to you for if you take the listing at 500. I'm sorry, at 550, I'll give it to you. I'm not listing at 500. It's too low. I believe my house is worth more money than that.
Okay, and I can totally understand that. Let's go back to why you were selling this house. Where were you planning to move to?
As you know, we're actually just staying in Ridgewood. We're just downsizing to a townhome.
Okay, downsizing to a townhome. Okay, so let's look out 3 months out, because according to what my data was, the comps are showing 500 would sell your home and you would be out of there. Now, if we're 3 months out and nobody's seen your home, let's even look a month out. Nobody's made an offer on your home. Nobody's looked at your home. Nobody wants showings on your home. Are you okay with that?
I mean, if I have to wait a month or two to get my number, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, because you do know what happens as your home sits on the market. I mean, I represent buyers, I represent sellers. And when I see a home that's 30, 60, 90 days on the market, I will recommend them not to offer asking price. So I guess it comes back to, and we're not even talking about the appraisal. What's important about 550 for you?
Well, I mean, this is our nest egg. We're retiring. We're going to be living on the fixed income. So it's important that we get every dollar out of this house. And I believe our house is worth 550. So that's what's important.
Okay. And have you done any improvements in the last few years that would make it different?
I mean, you saw everything we did to the house. Everything's updated. I mean, I think it looks great compared to what I've seen out there. I think it's one of the better homes in our neighborhood.
Okay. So if other homes that are similar priced, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths are in the price range of 500, and as I show you in the comps, that's what they are. If a buyer sees your home and a buyer sees their home, they may decide that, because that's how they're going to choose.
Wait, no, let me stop you there. Stop telling me.
Okay.
Start asking me some questions, because I know where you're going and it's the right place. But if you're telling me it's your opinion, ask me some questions.
Yes, I know. I felt like I was teaching. I was.
I know. Let's go question mode, man. Let's go.
Okay. So what happens if a buyer sees your home and sees similar homes in the neighborhood, and they're going to see multiple homes, and they see your home listed at 550 but another home listed at much less? If you were a buyer, which home would you select if everything was the same?
I mean, I would select the one that's 500.
500. Why would that be?
Well, I mean, why would I pay 550 if everything's the same? Why would I pay 50 grand more?
Okay. And days go by and your home stays on the market and you're helping the other home sell. Is that correct?
Never thought of it that way, but I hear where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happens. And as your home stays on the market 30, 60 days, do you think buyers are going to offer 550 after 2 months?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I actually have a different strategy. I say we lower it to 495 with the intention of getting multiple offers, getting you close. I'm not going to say 550, but above 500. That's my strategy, because if you price it below market value, you're going to draw the amount of buyers, you're going to fight for your house, and you're going to get the best price that you need. And some of these buyers are willing to waive inspection, and some of them are willing to waive appraisal, especially with such low inventory these days.
Okay, Raj. Okay. So I like the way you handle that. I will tell you, I want y'all to get to the point faster, and I want you to get to the point through asking questions, because Raj, you know what to say. You need to get me to say it, right? That's the biggest thing. So I want someone to take that again. I want the same objection handler. Give me 550. I'll list with you today. And you guys know the property's only worth 500. What are you saying? I want someone else to take a stab at it. And while you guys are working on the courage to raise your hand, let me ask you something. Ashley, I'm coming to you in a second. Raj, you see here, you see what I have here? It's $100 bill. You're muted, but this is $100 bill. Let me ask you a question, Raj.
Yeah.
Would you buy this from me for $50?
No.
Raj, what?
Well, oh, for 50? I'm sorry. Yes, 100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
Because you can still make $50, right?
Correct.
How about 75?
Possibly.
Possibly. Raj, come on, man. Where's your business acumen? You make 25.
Yeah, I would.
But
I would.
And I'm making the point here, Raj. Even at $95, you would still buy this $100 bill from me, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I saw this morning they said spend $300 at Best Buy and get a $20 credit. It's like, what is that? How is that useful? You know?
Right.
But yes, you're right.
You would buy this at $95, right? However, Raj, if I came to you and said, Raj, I got this $100 bill, buy it for $125, would you buy it for $125?
No, I wouldn't.
Why? Why not?
Because I'm paying more for something that's not worth it.
Exactly. But Raj, that's exactly what you're trying to have me do with your house. It's not worth $550. It's only worth $500. So I agree with you. People aren't going to overpay for something. So wouldn't you agree we need to price it correctly?
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. Cool, man.
Now I need to get $6 bills and $100.
And $100 bill. Yes. That's going to be in your listening toolkit.
Just don't forget it.
Right. Miss Ashley, I saw your hand go up. If you're at a point where you can still unmute, I'd like to hear how you would handle that. See you later, Colleen.
No, the $100 bill is dope. I guess I would handle it. Let me think. Because I was gonna go a similar route, but I guess I would handle it of David. Tell me why. Why do you think that your house is worth $50,000 more than the other homes that I showed you that recently sold?
I mean, the biggest thing is everything's updated. We take great care of our house. I've seen my neighbor's home. I know that my property looks better than their home. We put in a new septic a year ago that cost me $35,000. My house is worth more.
Right. So you basically just put your home up to standard, like selling standard, correct?
Well, I mean, yes.
Because homes with septics need a working septic, correct?
Yes, they do.
Right. And let's say the other finishes, you said kitchen and updates. Let's say a buyer came into your home and they don't really like your style of updates and they decide to get rid of all of that. How much do you think that's worth then?
Well, I guess it wouldn't be worth anything, but I don't know why anybody would get rid of the updates. I mean, they look great to us.
Right. And they were great for you guys, right? But let me ask you, did you do it for you guys or did you do it for the next buyer of your home?
Well, we did it for us. We didn't really plan on selling at the time of doing the updates.
Right, exactly. You did it for you guys and you got the enjoyment out of it.
Sure.
Right. So let's do the right thing. Let's price it where it needs to be priced so that we can get the buyers to come in and do what they would want to do with the home. So for their enjoyment, your home is showing, the market is telling us that your home is worth 500. So will you price it at 500 today with me?
Ashley, you made some good points. I'll give it to you at 500. I like the way you were using that textbook push script there going through. Very good, Ashley. Very good. All right. So you guys heard what Ashley was doing, getting the seller to understand the pricing. And yet some sellers are still going to say, but you know what? I still think my home is worth 550 and I'm not going to list it for 500. What else can we say to get a seller to actually see they need to price it correctly? Al, I'll give it to you.
Oh, actually, I was going to ask a question.
Oh, go for it. Pop in with a question.
Would it be unadvisable to say, well, I'll tell you what, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I can go ahead and list it at 550, but say it doesn't sell, it's been on the market for, let's say, 30 days. We're not getting any kind of activity on it. Are you willing to consider a price adjustment at that time?
I'd be willing to consider it at that time.
Okay, great. So even though I'm hesitant to list it at 550, we can go ahead and do that with that in mind, that if we don't get that activity, that we go ahead and make an adjustment in, let's say, 30 days.
Can I coach you around what you just said?
Okay.
The reason that I wouldn't say that is because I said I would consider doing a price reduction. I've done that in the past with an actual seller, and when it's time to reduce the price, all they want to do is give it another few weeks. They never want to come down on price. So Al, what if you said this? What if you said, I'll be the agent, you'll be the seller, and I'll say, Al, listen, the National Association of Realtors did a study, and they found that if a property is on the market for 2 weeks and we don't have any offers, it's the market speaking directly to us, telling us that we're actually overpriced. So I understand you want me to go in at 550. How long would the house have to be on the market with no offers for you to recognize that it's overpriced?
I mean, we can try it for a month, 30 days.
Yeah. You know, my concern about that, Al, is that the first 30 days the house is on the market is when it gets the most attention. And if we're overpriced by 50 grand, we'll get people to view our property, but agents are going to be using your house to sell the homes that are priced lower. Can I explain?
Sure, go ahead.
If you and homes like yours are on the market and they're at 500 and you're at 550, as an agent, I might bring my clients to your house to see if there's anything different, if you offer more, if there are more upgrades. But once we get there and we see your house is identical to the house that's priced at 500, do you think we're going to make an offer on your home, or do you think I'm going to take my clients to the home that's priced at 500 and make an offer?
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way.
See, I don't want people using your house to sell other listings. They'll say, this home is at 550. Let me take you down here and let's negotiate with the guy who's priced correctly. And then all the homes around you are selling and yours isn't. I don't want that to be the case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
So we need to do the right thing, Al. We need to price the home based on what the market's saying. So I know that I can get you the 500. The market's telling me that right now. Would you list your home with me at 500, or are you still stuck on 550?
I guess let's go ahead and do 500.
But what if you weren't going to do 500? What if you were like, no, still continue to push back?
Oh, okay. You know what? I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try. Why don't we go ahead and do 550 anyway, and then we can revisit in 30 days.
So I'm going to handle this one or two ways. One, I'm going to say, Al, listen, 30 days is too much. I'm open to doing what the National Real Estate Agent said and do it for 2 weeks. However, you would need to sign a price reduction form now, stating that in 2 weeks, if we didn't have any offers, we automatically lower the price to 500. If you're willing to do that, I'll give it my all. I'll do the staging, the marketing, the broker opens, the open houses, everything I always do. And if we don't have any offers in 2 weeks, the price is coming down. Is that agreeable?
Sure, that's agreeable. I think
that's it, man. That's one way I would handle it. And the other way I would say, Al, let me ask you a question. Have you ever purchased stock in the company before?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how the stock market works.
Correct.
Let me give you an example. Let's say IBM, you bought it years ago for $200 a share. And Al, you have to sell IBM stock today. and you look it up and it's only trading for $100 a share, how much can you actually sell it for?
Unfortunately, it has to be 100 or less.
100 or less, right? Even if you wanted to get 150, no one would care. It's only trading at 100 and that's all it's worth, correct?
Yes. Yes.
The housing market is a lot like the stock market, Al. People are looking at what it's currently trading for, what homes are have sold for, what homes are currently on the market. And right now, the housing market is telling us your house is worth 500. So let's do the right thing and price it so it will sell at 500. That's another way I would handle it. Let's hear how.
You want me to push a little more? What if I say, well, wait a minute. If my house is priced at 550 and other houses are priced at 500, wouldn't that motivate the buyer's agents to come bring buyers to my house because they'd get a higher commission?
No. And you know why? Because the same way that I did the comparables to find out your house was only worth 500, the buyer agents have done that as well. And they know that even if their clients made an offer of 550, their bank is going to come right behind them and do an appraisal.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
And that's what I would talk about. I would talk about the same thing an appraiser does. I already did for your house, and it's going to find out it's only worth 500. And then we've wasted weeks and weeks off the market where we should have been priced in the beginning correctly so we could have got your home sold. That's what I would talk about. I'm going to give it to Bamika, though, and see what she would say. Go ahead, Bamika.
No, I just wanted to add a couple of more pointers. You know, when you were talking, pretty much everybody said the same thing. So
gotcha.
I would say, let's just say you said, you know, I want to still price it at 550. I would tell you, David, so I just take your seller's hat off, put your buyer's hat on.
Okay.
Now, if you were to purchase a home, two similar homes that were for sale, one for 550 and one for 500, which one would you buy?
The one for 500 is a no-brainer.
Wouldn't you want that to use that extra 50,000 to do certain updates that you would want to do in your home?
Sure, or just bank it. Yeah, for sure.
Which is why we need to price your home correctly and what the market is telling us right now to do. That's why I'm going to recommend a price of 500 based on what we know. So do you, David, want to list your home at 500 with me tonight?
Bamika, I'll do it for 500. Good job.
Oh,
good job. See you, Jolie. All right, so I want somebody to raise their hand right quick. I want a brave soul. Pete. I got Pete, then I got Ashley. There we go.
Oh, no, I had a question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead with your question first, then I'll go to Pete.
So I have a question around the whole appraisal thing. Why don't we have I've never heard an objective around the appraisal, which is so dope. I would like that objection handler. Like, okay, great. Yeah. Let's say if you were on the market at 550 and you only had one buyer come in and you negotiated them up to 550. We get under contract and the appraisal comes back at 500. What happens then?
Yeah.
Who's paying that?
That's right. That's what we should be bringing up, Ashley. That's what we should be talking about. And, you know, I'm happy you brought that up, Ashley, because I used to have sellers that were so adamant on their price and they didn't want to listen to me. And one thing I started doing, and maybe we'll get back to this, I would tell my sellers, let's go ahead and hire an appraiser to come out and appraise your property, and we'll go off their value. And then at closing, I will reimburse you for the appraisal. You pay it for it now. Let's get the number. Whatever they say your home is worth, that's what we'll list it for, since you're not in agreement with my comparables. And typically it was right in line with what I came up with. But sometimes hearing it from a third independent party, if you have that type of seller that doesn't trust your number and they think their number's right, I remove myself and I bring in an appraiser, get them to pay for it, and I reimburse them at closing for the appraisal. And I didn't mind doing that because I was getting 6%. I didn't mind paying $300 or $400 to get the listing and know that it was going to be priced right so we could sell it quickly.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think that's cool too. I think that's a lot of extra steps.
It is, but I'll jump through those hoops every day if it'll get me the listing, especially if I don't have to pay for it up front. The seller's making that investment. I jump through that hoop every day.
But you know, a lot of investors and a lot of sellers that don't want to go crazy with their price, they don't want to even paint their walls. So they're not gonna, some of them won't put up that extra 300. That's just in my opinion. I tell you, hey, just paint some walls, and you're like, no way.
Which is
So-
another reason, Ashley, as part of my listing process, I always brought in the stager, because a lot of times if I told them to paint, they didn't really listen. But when my stager came in and they were talking to an independent party that did that for a living, and that person gave them feedback and things to do, they did it when the stager told them to. When I would tell them to do it, they didn't always listen. So I always recommend as listing agents, we should be hiring a stager to at least do a 90 minute consultation and point out some of the key things that will help that house neutralize and be more appealing to the buyers. That's something I always did.
Oh, I actually do that. I don't do, you automatically get a staging consultation, but I got that from you.
Yeah, I did it with every listing, even a $200,000 listing, $1 million listing. I always spent that $150 on the consultation. It was one of the things I offered, and one way I explained why my commission was what it was.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had to say. No more taking up time.
All right. Listen, Pete, I appreciate everything you said. We do want to list with you and list our house with you. However, we only want to pay your commission. We don't want to pay a buyer's commission. Because I think this is going to start coming up maybe with this lawsuit.
Maybe.
So I feel like we need to start talking about it now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you, David, I mean, what is it about not paying a buyer's commission that's important to you?
Well, I mean, I save more money, right? You're charging 6%. You said you would give out 3%. If I only have to pay you and you bring the buyer, then that saves me $3,000. I mean, this house is $800,000, Peter. I put that 24 grand right in my pocket.
Right. Right. And if you knew that by paying a buyer's agent, you would actually net more money, would you pay that buyer's agent?
I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can understand that. And let me ask you, David, did you know that 98% of homes that sold last year were actually a buyer's agent is the one who brought the buyer?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. Are you, and listen, you don't have to pay a buyer's agent, and truthfully, you never have had to. But similarly, you didn't have to shower this morning, but it was probably in your best interest to get up and take a shower this morning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, again, you're in control of the situation for sure. But we know that, buyers agents are the ones who have the buyers. If you really weren't interested in paying a buyer's agent, I would probably recommend, potentially considering selling a for sale by owner.
Well, it's something that I have thought about.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also know that, I forget the stat, but it's like 70%, we know that for sale by owners, when they represent themselves, they're actually, NAR did a study that they actually get about 80% of their home's value on average.
80%. Oof. So that's low.
So you see, you could actually be giving up 20% by trying to save 3%. Does it make sense to pay the 3% and bring a qualified professional, someone who's pre-qualified and get you the best terms and the best offer on your home?
That's interesting. That's interesting, Pete. Yeah, I hear where you're coming from.
Okay, great. So any other questions?
That's all.
All right, let's get rocking and rolling.
So Pete, let me ask you this. Do you know how many homes the average buyer agent sells every year? Because I think this is something good that we can bring up when this argument comes up.
Well, what's interesting, David, is actually last year, the stat is that I think it's like 68% of, actually, no, I don't. This is not relevant. So no, I don't.
It's all good. Two properties.
Yeah.
2 properties a year. And Coach Pipe shared with us a couple weeks ago that the average real estate agent last year made $44,000. That's it. So what if we brought up to the seller those statistics? What if I said to you, Pete, I understand that you don't want to pay the buyer's agent, right? You just want to list the property, and you probably expect that they'll still send their clients anyhow, or the buyers may come directly to us. But let me explain something to you, Pete. The average buyer agent only sells 2 houses a year, and on average they make $44,000 a year. So when they have a serious buyer that's motivated, that's qualified, I'm not saying that they should do this, but they are going to look and see if they're being compensated. And let me ask you, Pete, if you were a buyer's agent that sold 2 houses a year, you made $44,000 a year, and you had a client, you had the option to show them a house where you got no commission, or you had the option to show them a house that you were getting paid 3% commission on. Which one are you showing?
Yeah, I'm showing the one that I'm getting paid for my time.
Yeah. And so if all the agents were showing the property where they got paid for their time and they all brought in qualified people, and because we're priced correctly, we got a lot of attention. What do you think could happen with our price that we have on your house if we had all of the buyer agents involved in the transaction?
Yeah, they're trying to sell this house.
That's what we need, right? That's what we need. We need multiple people who are interested in purchasing this house so that we can get you. Ideally, I'd like to get you multiple offers, Pete. And that doesn't necessarily mean more money. It means you getting the opportunity to choose who buys your home. Is it someone paying cash versus someone that's conventional? Is it someone that doesn't have a house to sell versus someone who does have a house to sell? In order to give you those options, we need to open it up to all the buyers and all the buyer agents that are out there. We do that, Pete, by offering them a commission. I mean, you said it yourself. You wouldn't work for free.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So do you see the value in participating and paying out a commission to a buyer's agent?
Yeah, I do.
Well, let me put you at ease, Pete. You're not going to be obligated to accept an offer unless it makes sense for you financially. So I'll put together the marketing plan. I will get you some offers and we'll review them. Financially, if it doesn't make sense for you, you don't have to accept it. You'll only accept a deal that makes sense for you. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do it the right way and make sure we're compensating those buyer agents, and let's work on getting your property sold quickly like you want.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm thinking about that I would say. I don't know if that's solid. I don't know if you guys think that would work, but that's what came to mind for me. What do you think?
I think there's also the avenue of kind of explaining, I think it is important in today's day and age that we all say you're not obligated to pay a buyer's agent by any means. So please hear that and understand that that is an important message to get across.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be over exaggerated, but you should pepper that in there.
That.
But I also think it's like part of kind of understanding that, hey, listen, understanding where home values are. I don't know how to articulate this necessarily, but to the point of like, listen, understand that buyer's agents are compensated through the proceeds of the sale, but the proceeds of the sale are paid for by the buyer. So if the buyer is buying your home at top dollar, it still always kind of comes back around, right? So explaining to them, like, listen, if you were buying a house, wouldn't you want proper representation? Yes, of course.
Yes.
Of course. So you're going to hire a buyer's agent, and a quality buyer's agent, which you would agree that's who we want to attract, right? Not these TikTokers who just showed up yesterday. We want quality professionals to bring pre-approved buyers, right?
For sure.
Right. So we know that those agents know what they're worth. So if they're working with a buyer, they most likely have an agreement with them that that buyer is paying their commission one way or another, right? Either through the purchase of your home or directly out of their pocket. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
So if a buyer had to buy your home, pay their closing costs, pay their down payment, and listen, we know the way the market is, probably have to deal with some of the repairs that we're not willing to address because I'm going to negotiate the best I can to make sure that you're netting everything. So now the buyer has to pay closing costs, down payment, any repairs to the home, and the buyer's commission. Do you think that leaves more or less room for them to offer their best offer on your home?
That's really interesting. Wow, I hadn't thought about it that way, Pete.
So we can offer them X%, and we can kind of control a little bit more of what we're paying them, as opposed to maybe their agreement is higher than what we would even be offering to pay them, which means they're going to have even less to offer on your home. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah, I want to make sure they can offer as much as possible for sure.
Yeah, right. So let's do the right thing. Let's get your home sold. Let's make sure we're paying out a fair commission that's going to attract top professionals. And let's make sure we get the best terms and bottom line for your home.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate that. So I wanted to.
One thing I will say too, just
yep.
is that comes from understanding the concepts, right? It's not necessarily having the word. So if you aren't really sure what's going on with the commissions and how that all works, find somebody who does, ask questions, have conversations about it.
That's a really good point. I want to be. I want to keep the schedule and make sure that we're ending at 9:30. Let me ask you guys. We've been doing this. This is week number 4. Do you feel like you're learning? Is it worth your time being here? Are you getting some nuggets that help you, with these conversations, or maybe even just building up your confidence to actually get on the phone? Because that's what this is all about. Let me just put this out here. I don't think we're having it next week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. I want you guys to think about what would happen if you actually raised your hand and participated. It won't kill you. It will make you stronger. And I promise you, when people want to meet with you and they invite you to come to their house, they believe that you can help them. And it's when you open your mouth that you either win or lose the opportunity. This market is getting tighter. You have more competition out there now. You need to make sure that you're highly scripted, like Pete, right? You gotta be able to explain it. You've got to be able to talk about it. You got to be able to ask hard questions. You have to learn how to not talk so much and listen more, right? And this all comes through practice. And so sitting on the sidelines, you can definitely learn some things. I can read a book all day about how to work out, but it's not until I get my ass in the gym every morning and do it that I'm actually going to see some results. So you guys have to get off the sideline. You got to play. And this is a safe space. This is where you sweat and practice so you don't bleed in war, because we have to stop practicing on our paychecks, getting in front of a seller and not knowing what to say and giving them a reason to interview someone else. They have you there because they believe that you can do the job. If you don't say the right things, you give them a reason to interview someone else. So practice here. Show up here and get out of your comfort zone. Learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable so that you can go secure listings. I want everybody on this call to be listing focused next year. You want to control your income? You don't want to have to be worried about this lawsuit and how it affects you. Get listings. You're guaranteed to get paid. And you have more control over your schedule, right? You're the employer. All the buyer's agents will be your employees. You want to have the listings. So I appreciate you guys being here. I got to head up to Bergen County, so I'm going to hop off. But listen, come back. I will be emailing you guys the recording of this class. I'll let you guys know about the next class that we're going to have. And I hope that you'll join us. And I hope and trust that you're getting benefits from being here.